Have you ever wondered what strange cartoons were quietly hidden in the corners of animation history? The ones that didn't make it to weekend mornings or classic reruns. Animation used to be a playground where creators tried anything, no matter how odd, surreal, or dreamlike. And somewhere in that forgotten pile are cartoons so unusual that you'd swear they couldn't exist. Today, we re-unlocking those strange treasures and exploring a few surprises you never saw coming. Number 15. The Hand, 1965. There are strange cartoons, and then there are cartoons that stay in your mind long after the screen goes dark. The Hand, released in 1965 by the Czech master Jiří Trnka, sits firmly in that second category. This is a stop-motion story told with beautiful wooden puppets, yet everything about it feels quietly unsettling. It follows a gentle artist who simply wants to carve little flower pots, but his peaceful world is interrupted by a giant glove that appears without warning. This glove gestures, demands, insists, and tries to force him to create only what it approves. The more he resists, the more persistent the glove becomes, shaping everything around him. The animation is smooth and expressive, giving even the smallest movements a dramatic weight. Instead of bright cartoon antics, the short creates an atmosphere of gentle unease. You can almost feel the pressure building as the artist tries to hold on to his simple craft. Critics often describe The Hand as one of the most meaningful puppet films ever made. It carries deep themes, but presents them in a simple, almost dreamlike way that viewers of any age can follow. Whether you see it as a reflection of creativity, personal freedom, or just an imaginative story with a mysterious visitor, it stands out as one of the strangest animated shorts you've probably never watched. And now you can find it online, restored, and ready to rediscover. Number 14. Mona Lisa, Descending a Staircase, 1992. Imagine every famous painting you've ever seen melting gently into the next, as if the museum walls have started to breathe. That's the experience of Mona Lisa, Descending a Staircase, a 1992 clay animation short that feels more like a moving art gallery than a traditional cartoon. Instead of characters speaking or cracking jokes, this short turns masterpieces into flowing motion. The creator, Joan Gratz, used a technique where bits of clay are shaped and reshaped frame by frame. The result looks almost unreal. Classical portraits dissolve into modern art. Smooth faces stretch into angular shapes. Cool colors blend into warm ones. Every transition feels like a little magic trick. There is no dialogue, no narration, and no traditional plot. The entire short is built on emotion and visual rhythm, letting the viewer drift from one century of art into another. What makes it strange is how hypnotic it becomes. You start watching casually and end up leaning closer without realizing it. It is part animation experiment, part visual poem. Even though it won an Academy Award, many people today have never heard of it. But if you love art, surreal visuals, or animation that does something completely unexpected, this is a strange cartoon you should absolutely experience. It proves you don't need words to create something unforgettable. Number 13. The Dover Boys at Pimento University, 1942. This one looks like a cheerful classic, but Don T. let the old-fashioned artwork fool you. The Dover Boys at Pimento University from 1942 is one of the oddest and most experimental cartoons Warner Bros. Ever produced. Directed by Chuck Jones at a time when animation was still finding its rules, this short breaks almost all of them. The cartoon parodies old adventure stories, but its real charm is in its timing. Characters freeze in mid-movement, zip out of frame, or slide across the screen long after the action should have stopped. The pacing is intentionally awkward, in a fun way, like a live-action movie trying to imitate a comic strip. Instead of smooth motion, you get bold holds, sudden cuts, and exaggerated poses that feel decades ahead of their time. Even the humor is unusual. The three brothers behave like exaggerated heroes from a vintage novel, while the villain flails around in dramatic bursts that seem too theatrical, even for cartoons. There is no steady rhythm. Everything jumps, pauses, or speeds up without warning. Back in the 40s, audiences didn't know what to make of it, but animators today still study it for its bold style. It is strange, silly, and delightfully chaotic. And because it is in the public domain, you can watch it easily online. If you want to see what early animation looked like when it took creative risks, this is the cartoon to start with. Number 12. The Mascot, 1933. If early stop-motion ever gave you an eerie feeling, The Mascot from 1933 is probably one of the reasons why. Directed by Ladislas Starevich, a pioneer in puppet animation, this short follows a little toy dog who sneaks out into the real world. But instead of stumbling into a cheerful adventure, he enters a nighttime landscape filled with strange moving objects, animated toys, and odd little creatures that seem to exist between reality and imagination. Starevich made his puppets from real materials like fur, leather, and wire, which gives them an organic look that feels almost alive. Every scene in The Mascot is filled with small details. Shadows flicker, objects twitch, and characters move with a jerky but expressive charm. There is a marketplace of discarded items that shuffle around. A fruit peel suddenly dances. A series of handmade toys marches in uneven rhythm. What makes it so unusual is the unpredictable tone. One moment it feels adventurous, the next moment slightly haunting in a way that is still completely child-safe. The world feels patched together from forgotten parts of an attic. You never know what the next corner will reveal. Many animation fans consider The Mascot one of the great masterpieces of early stop-motion because of how inventive it is. Even today, with modern effects and perfect animation tools, nothing quite matches its handmade strangeness, and yes, it is available online in several restored versions. Number 11. The Big Snit, 1985. Sometimes the strangest cartoons don't need wild creatures or fantasy worlds. Sometimes they just need a living room, a jigsaw puzzle, and a couple who can agree on anything. The Big Snit from 1985 is a Canadian animated short that blends humor, surrealism, and heartfelt moments in a way that feels completely unique. The story begins with a husband and wife arguing over a simple puzzle, but from there, the short slips into odd territory. The husband's eyes slide out of place when he gets upset. The cat moves in exaggerated slow motion. The wife retreats into her own world through the television. Meanwhile, the outside world hints at events that are far beyond their living room. What makes The Big Snit stand out is its balance. It is funny, charming, strange, and unexpectedly warm. The animation style is loose and wiggly, giving every scene a playful sense of motion. Yet, despite all the quirky humor, the short quietly builds toward a surprisingly emotional ending that stays with you long after the credits roll. The National Film Board of Canada is known for unusual animated storytelling, and this is one of their most beloved creations. It is strange in the best way, a mix of gentle comedy and dreamlike imagery. It is also available in high quality online, making it easy to revisit this unforgettable little oddity. Number 9. The Magic Mummy, 1931. The Magic Mummy from 1931 is one of those early cartoons that feels like it was made during a burst of creativity. Produced by the Van Buren Studios, it drops you straight into a world where Egyptian treasures, dancing objects, and lively music all collide. The cartoon starts with explorers in a museum when a carved coffin suddenly pops open and the mummy inside springs to life with surprising energy. What follows is a parade of rubber hose animation, typical of the early 30s. Characters stretch and bend beyond logic, shadows move with extra personality, and props bounce as if they have their own heartbeat. The mummy isn't frightening. Instead, it behaves like a mischievous performer, leading a chain of musical gags that keep growing in intensity. Every moment is exaggerated, from swirling carpets to statues that join the dance. It is strange in the best way because it blends harmless humor with unexpected visuals. There is no steady plot, just one creative scene after another. For animation history fans, The Magic Mummy is a time capsule of the era's imagination, showing how early studios experimented with sound, rhythm, and movement. You can still find it online today. Number 8. Four Feather Falls, 1960. Before digital animation or sleek modern puppetry, there was Four Feather Falls in 1960, a show created using early marionette techniques. What makes it strange is its unique blend of Western storytelling and fantasy touches. Instead of typical cowboy adventures, you get characters with talking animals, floating objects, and small magical moments woven into everyday scenes. The main hero, Tex Tucker, receives 4 enchanted feathers that allow him to speak with his horse and dog and help him face challenges around the town. The puppets move with classic string motions, giving the show its unmistakable charm. Their expressions shift just enough to feel alive, yet the movements remain slightly stiff, making the entire world feel a little surreal. The backgrounds are colorful but simple, giving every scene a handmade storybook look. Although created by Jerry Anderson before his more famous productions, this series remains one of his most unusual works. It is gentle, imaginative, and unexpectedly whimsical. Even with its slower pacing, the atmosphere is unlike anything produced today. Four Feather Falls is available online and is a delightful example of early puppet animation pushing creativity in a direction few people remember. Number 7. The Snowman, 1982. The Snowman from 1982 is one of the calmest yet most unusual animated shorts ever made. Unlike typical holiday cartoons, it uses soft pastel artwork and gentle music to create a quiet winter adventure. There is no dialogue. Instead, the story unfolds through expressive animation that lets the audience feel everything without a single spoken word. It tells the tale of a boy who builds a snowman that magically comes to life. Rather than causing chaos or cracking jokes, the snowman takes the boy on a peaceful nighttime journey. They glide through forests, float above glowing cities, and share moments of pure wonder. The pacing is unhurried, giving viewers time to appreciate the scenery and the dreamlike mood. What makes it strange is the simplicity. No loud gags or predictable twists, just two characters exploring a calm world. The animation style looks almost hand-drawn with chalk, making every frame feel soft and warm. The short leaves a lasting impression, not through action, but through feeling. Even decades later, The Snowman remains one of the most unique animated stories you can find online. Number 6. Bimbo S Initiation, 1931. Bimbo S Initiation from 1931 is one of the strangest cartoons ever created during the early days of animation. Produced by the Fleischer Studios, it drops the main character, Bimbo, into a twisting underground world filled with moving floors, sliding walls, and characters who appear and disappear without warning. Everything happens fast, with a playful yet mysterious tone that sets it apart from typical 30s cartoons. The entire short revolves around Bimbo being asked a single question by a group of masked characters. Instead of answering, he experiences a rapid series of tests. Hallways stretch, ropes swing from nowhere, and objects come alive just long enough to surprise him. The animation uses classic rubber hose movement, giving every character exaggerated flexibility. This makes the world feel impossible in a fun and harmless way. Betty Boop appears briefly, adding a touch of familiar charm to an otherwise unpredictable cartoon. The short never settles into a normal rhythm. Every scene feels like a new idea unfolding in real time. Many animation fans still study this cartoon because of how bold and imaginative it is. It is strange, energetic, and unforgettable. And yes, it is widely available online. Number 5. It's a Greek Life, 1936. It's a Greek Life from 1936 is one of Van Buren Studios' most imaginative creations. It throws you straight into a colorful version of ancient Greece, where myth and comedy collide with non-stop energy. The short stars a cheerful centaur cobbler who receives Mercury-esque winged sandals for repair. But instead of fixing them, he decides to slip them on, and that is when the fun begins. The sandals send him soaring across the sky in a wild, unpredictable flight. The animation is packed with vivid colors, bouncing movements, and expressive reactions. Van Buren never tried to imitate Disney's realism. Instead, the studio leaned into a loose, rubbery style where anything could stretch, twist, or transform. The centaur rushes through temples, clouds, and towering columns, creating a fast-paced journey filled with surprising musical cues. What makes it strange is the mix of mythology and cartoon chaos. Greek gods appear for quick gags, landscapes react like living characters, and the entire world feels like a playful stage. It is short, bright, and full of quirky charm. Although Van Buren Studios eventually closed, this cartoon remains one of their most creative pieces. You can easily find it online today. Number 4. Bottles, 1936. Bottles from 1936 is a classic Warner Brothers experiment in surreal storytelling. It takes place in an old pharmacy late at night, where the shelves are stacked with jars, tonics, and colorful bottles that sit perfectly still while the pharmacist mixes ingredients. But as soon as he falls asleep, the world around him begins to wake up in the strangest way. The bottles come alive, each one shaped like the character inside. Musical bottles sway and sing, baby bottles cry and wobble around, and tall bottles of tonic dance across the counter like performers on a tiny stage. Even the shadows join in, giving the whole shop a lively rhythm. The cartoon blends gentle humor with dreamlike visuals, using exaggerated expressions and fluid animation to keep the pace moving. Things get more intense as the pharmacist shrinks down into the world of the bottles, where he must dodge swirling liquids and mysterious shapes. But the tone stays safely whimsical, with creative animation tricks and clever lighting. Bottles is a vivid example of early cartoon imagination at full speed. It may be almost a century old, but its playful style still feels fresh. And yes, it is available online. Number 3. A Swiss Trick, 1931. A Swiss Trick from 1931 is one of the quirkiest entries in the original Tom and Jerry Human Duo series. Made by Van Buren Studios, this short drops the two characters into the snowy Swiss Alps for a fast-paced adventure that mixes slapstick humor with surreal gags. It starts with the pair boarding a mountain train that rattles along the tracks until it suddenly breaks down, leaving them stranded in a world where nothing behaves as expected. The animation uses classic rubber hose movement, where characters stretch and bend in impossible ways. A friendly Saint Bernard appears, impossibly thin and cheerful, offering help one moment and accidentally creating chaos the next. The scenery itself seems to react, with snowbanks moving, horns echoing in strange ways, and a simple piece of cheese becoming the star of the cartoon. The final sequence is the strangest of all. Tom and Jerry borrow a block of Swiss cheese, only to end up covered in holes and chased down the mountain by a swarm of mice who mistake them for snacks. It is silly, unpredictable, and completely harmless fun. As one of Van Buren's more unusual shorts, A Swiss Trick can still be viewed online. Number 2. The Sunshine Makers, 1935. The Sunshine Makers from 1935 looks cheerful on the surface, but beneath the bright colors and bouncy music lies one of the oddest ideas ever animated. The short follows happy red-suited gnomes who live in a world of endless sunlight. Their job is to bottle sunshine, turning it into bright, glowing jars. But their peaceful routine changes when they discover a group of gloomy blue goblins living in the shadows nearby. What follows is a lively clash between cheer and gloom. The gnomes rush into action, sending their bottled sunlight into the Goblin Valley. The goblins try to fight the brightness with dark clouds and dramatic reactions, but the jars burst open, filling the air with warm light. Expressions stretch, shadows dance, and the entire landscape shifts in color as the two groups meet. The strange charm of this cartoon comes from how exaggerated everything is. The gnomes smile a little too wide, the goblins sulk a little too dramatically, and the pacing never slows down. The Sunshine Makers remains one of Van Buren Studios' most memorable creations, still available online and still delightfully unusual. Number 1. The Peanut Vendor, 1933. The Peanut Vendor from 1933 is one of the most unforgettable early animation experiments. Created by artist Len Lai, this stop-motion short uses a single monkey-like puppet with wide, glassy eyes, long, flexible limbs, and an energy that grows with every beat of the music. The puppet stands on a tiny stage, selling peanuts while dancing with an enthusiastic rhythm that becomes more exaggerated as the music intensifies. What makes it strange is how lifelike and dreamlike it feels at the same time. The movements are jerky, yet expressive, giving the puppet a personality that is hard to describe. The background remains simple, making the puppet's motions even more captivating. At one point, it twirls with its own tail, creating a moment that is both humorous and unexpectedly creative. Strange, isn't it? The further we dig into animation history, the more we discover a world where creativity had no limits and the unexpected was simply normal. These forgotten cartoons prove that imagination never truly disappears. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the unusual corners of classic animation, give the video a thumbs up, share it with someone who loves hidden gems, and tell me which strange cartoon surprised you the most. The past still has plenty to reveal.